Many people have asked me, how do you make picture-in-picture videos for Guitar Hero or Rock Band? Today I've decided that I'm finally going to make a tutorial to explain exactly how you do it. I've already taken my screen video, which is of a drum FC of James Lloyd Coulter, doing Kings and Queens by 30 Seconds to Mars. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hands part, which is in HD, and I'm going to convert it to a format that will allow Final Cut Pro to edit, which is what I use. So I've discovered, thanks to Bits of Bacon, this QuickTime Intermediate codec, which allows me to maintain the proper quality. It's called Apple Intermediate Quality, and I put it the quality up to 100%, and you'll see how fast it actually allows you to export it. It's actually quite impressive. Now that all your files are converted, what you want to do is first drag in the hands footage. Now that the hands footage is in, make sure that it's on the first video layer, as you would like this to be the primary video layer and the screen footage will be put on top of it. Now here's the screen footage, and if you notice, I'm putting it on the second video layer here, and I'm going to mute the audio because his audio is very bad and we never use it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually copy this, and I'm going to double it up. The reason I do this is because, as you know, people want to see both the track and the score on the same thing. So you have to create two video layers to do this. So what you want to do, obviously, is render the clip so you can use it over the hands footage. So render all, both. And this will take about any minute now. 12 minutes. Alright, so now that you have the screen footage rendered, the next thing you have to do is locate the first hit in the drum song or guitar song, what have you. So how you do this basically is you watch the track, and what I like to do is I try to find the part closest to when the notes are highlighted. So you could see here that that explosion indicates the note hit. So what you do then is you go to the point with this indicator here and you press M to set a marker. So now, because I had both things highlighted, both things are now marked, both clips. So this one will obviously be the highway, and this one will be the score indication. The next part is a bit tricky actually. What you have to do is you have to figure out the first hit that you have on the actual hands footage. This is going to be a bit tricky because I believe he does some double bass spam here. So I have to determine when the actual red-yellow hit happens in the song. And I believe that's it right there. So what I try to do is I try to not only visually see the hit, but also on the audio. There usually peaks out a bit when it has the actual hit. If you notice right here, you can see that the audio completely peaked out on the hit. So what I do then is just like I did with the screen footage, I set a marker. Alright, so now that I have everything marked up, so to speak, I then take both the screen clips and I match the markers to the marker on the hand footage. So now what I have is it should line up correctly on the first try. What you want to do is you have to make sure that it's exact. So by dragging the slider here, see that it's completely lined up, which it is. So now that you have that all lined up, and make sure that you're using the audio from the hands footage. You will have to render it obviously because it is now on top of the hands footage. So once it's rendered, what you want to definitely do is make sure that the audio from the hands footage is lined up with the on-screen footage. And we're back. So now that you have everything set up, and it looks like believe that I have it on the first try, the sync properly. Looks good to me. So the next thing you want to do is the main part of the whole process, and that is cutting out the fretboard. So what you want to do is you double click on the layer you have chosen to be the highway, and it will appear here. The next thing you want to do is go to Video Filters and to Matte and select 4-point Garbage Matte. Next thing you want to do is, what I like to do at least, is I drag this filter window over here. Now here comes the fun part. Make sure that you hide the top layer so it doesn't interfere with your editing process. You click the first point and just drag it until everything else is cut out but the highway. And you repeat for point 2, point 3, and finally point 4. So now you see you have the highway cut out perfectly. Next thing I like to do is I will put the choke all the way up, and I'll as well feather it with a value of about 8 to give it a nice, I guess, mesh it a bit better with the background. If you notice, the values here correspond to the position on the actual screen, the 640 by 480 capture. So in the future, you could take these values and apply them to future projects for a more efficient way, I guess, of editing out the fretboard without having to drag around. This can definitely accelerate the editing process. Alright, so now that we have that figured out, we can close that filter window, and as you can see, I now have the fretboard selected perfectly. I'm going to move that over a bit. And maybe expand it a bit. So there you have it. There is the fretboard. Next thing we're going to do is we'll hide that for the time being, and we will now take the score. It's pretty much the exact same thing we did before. You go to Effects, it's the last thing is already there, the 4-point garbage matte. Select Filter, drag it over so you could see. Go back to Video, and just select point 3, and finally point 4. It looks like I messed up a little bit, but it's fine. can just correct my little mistake here. One thing that I forgot to do is turn on the wireframe, which allows me to easily drag this around. I've never had this much trouble doing this before. This is very interesting. Anyway, I'll probably fix this up later, but I mean it's pretty straightforward. You just cut out a box, choke, feather. One thing you definitely want to make sure of is go to a certain point in the video and find out exactly where it becomes the gold stars, so you make sure that nothing is cut off. Alright, and the next step will be... Alright, I finally figured out what I was doing wrong. So now you can see that everything is now lined up the way you want it. I've put the score in the top right corner, fretboard is there, you can still see a majority of the drum pads, and it's all lined up. One thing I like to do, definitely, is I don't actually put the score in until there's an actual hit. Now you can see that the marker is where the hit is, so I will just cut everything before that, which saves a bit of render time. So now the score won't come in until there's an actual note to hit. So it's there a bit early, but you know, it's not that big of a deal. If I really wanted to do it, I would just zoom out a lot more. Oh, a bit too much. Dock is getting in the way. What else is new? Zoom out a bit more. Select the cut tool and drag a bit and just slice everything before the actual drum track starts. So there you have it. If I wanted to get even more fancy, you know, I could just get rid of all the highway there, but you know, that's no fun. But what I will do is I'll definitely get rid of everything before the logo, because you know, that just looks sloppy. I like to, you know, wait until you can just barely, you can just start to see the Rock Band drum logo come in with your gamer tag. There you go. Alright. As well, I'll add a little transition, just a simple cross dissolve from black to start it off, as well a cross dissolve starting the fretboard into the video. And I'll just drag that all the way to the beginning. So now you can see that the timeline is all set up. So there you have it. Here's the full thing all ready to go. As you can see here, the song ends. Just go to where the song ends. And I mean, there's quite a long outro, it seems, but you know what, I think I'm just gonna cut out all of the fretboard after that, because you know, why waste precious cycles of my computer processing that render. As well, I'm going to change this part of the video to, I'm just going to put the regular screen, so you could still see the screen when it comes up with the score relevant to the FC. And you do this by making a cut after the section that you no longer want to be picture-in-picture. Make sure that the cursor is on it to indicate that you would like to remove the filter that you modified for that section. So cut, and you can see it turns into that, and just do a little resize, toss it in the top corner so people can still see what's going on. And then once the actual video is ended, you can just make another slice right here. And if you would like to, you still want to hear the audio for that, just drag it down to where the other thing is and resize it. And there you have it. The next step is to render the whole shebang, which takes quite a while. Alright, so one 20-minute render later, and we have a finished product. Sync seems fine to me. Now what you want to do is export the video. So what I do is export to QuickTime Movie, current settings, and I don't make the movie self-contained because I'm going to export it, I'm going to rather convert it anyway into MP4, which is a more friendly type thing for YouTube. So here we'll call it Kings and Queens. Save. And you can see it makes a lot of difference because it exports in 5 seconds because it depends on the original video being intact with all the source files on the computer. So now we take that file and put it into MPEG Streamclip, which is a free program that I use for converting everything. You can see that the video is all intact. The red bar has appeared due to my corrupted hard drive, and I mean eventually I'm sure I'll get around to reinstalling a bunch of the stuff that'll fix that, but for now it's fine since it's just a visual thing. It doesn't show up on the final product. So now we export to MPEG 4, unscaled, deinterlace, 60% give or take, make MP4, and there you have it. You've just made a split screen video. Now obviously the things that I've shown are for Final Cut Pro on macOS 10, but of course you can apply most of this knowledge to anything such as Sony Vegas, Adobe Premiere, or Adobe After Effects, or even Adobe Premiere Elements, which is basically an iMovie type deal for Adobe Premiere, which is a dumbed down, more streamlined, user-friendly editing program. So, I mean, if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. I hope that this helps you a bit with your editing, and hopefully we see more high-quality picture-in-picture videos from everyone in our community, such as it is. Thanks, and take care.